Kristen. Thank you for joining me for the first episode of Hot Right Now Knits. On this podcast, we will explore the Hot Right Now section of Ravelry from the beginning to end. I will offer you my insights at every stage of the project selected so that you can learn from my experiences and hopefully decide if this project is the right one for you as well. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Hot Right Now Knits, on Ravelry at Kristen Cantwell, and you can reach me by email at kristen@hotrightnownknits.com. I will include these links in my podcast summary below. My knitting background is probably similar to many of yours out there. I first picked up needles with both of my grandmothers and had some instruction when I was very young. Now that I'm an empty nester, I've become a passionate, enthusiastic knitter who wants to knit all the things. Today I live in rural White House Station, New Jersey with my husband and my 3 dogs. Besides knitting, I take watercolor painting classes and I enjoy my flower gardens. I think of myself as an intermediate, primarily self-taught knitter, although I have been taking more classes in the last year or two. I learn a lot from ripping out and redoing things. It seems like I never quite understand a pattern or interpret it right the first time. I think I have a little bit of dyslexia or ADHD, so that it takes me a little while to sometimes understand what patterns are trying to say to me. It's not the patterns themselves. When I go back and I read them carefully a second or a third time, they're very clear, but I just don't seem to grasp them a lot of times on the first time through. And that's a me issue, not a pattern issue most times. So like I said, I have gotten very comfortable with frogging, and I learn a lot from it that way. I'm hoping you will find my experiences interesting and helpful and choose to subscribe to this podcast at the end, or now if you choose. Today I'm wearing the Weekday tee by Aimee Sher. I knit it in Regina Lang, which is 50% cotton, 24% alpaca, 20% silk, and 6% wool. It's a really nice, soft, luxurious fabric that has been knitted up. It's fingering weight, and it was 191 yards per 50 grams. This is the color 0193. It's a soft whitish kind of color. I knit it in size D with which is for a finished bust circumference of 43.25 inches with 0 to 3 inches of positive ease recommended. And that gives me just about an inch of positive ease. So I love the way it fits. I love the way it feels. And so far it has worn really well. So let's jump into the Hot Right Now Knits portion of the podcast. I'm kicking off this podcast series with the frame sweater because right now there isn't much hotter out there. The pattern link on Ravelry is below in the comments. This episode's a little different in that I knew I wanted to knit this sweater, and I knew that it was going to be in the Hot Right Now section. I'm sure, in fact, I am willing to bet that this is going to be probably the biggest sweater seen at the New York Sheep and Wool in Rhinebeck this fall. There was a lot of big fanfare about this project coming out in July, and it didn't disappoint. Everybody was really, really excited when it came out. It was a really secret test knit. and there was a lot of hype before this. Framed is Andrea Mowrey's of Drea Renee Knits 7th Rhinebeck sweater. I'm going to include a link below to her website page that has all of her Rhinebeck sweaters, so you can go back and see them all, their progression over the years, and maybe you want to knit one of those instead of or in addition to the frame sweater. Framed is a collaboration using Spincycle Yarns Dream State and Spinster's Daughter worsted by the Farmer's Daughter. Both the Farmer's Daughter Fibers and Spincycle have kits on their websites. I'm going to include the links to their websites and the kits below as well, in case that helps someone just go online, choose a kit, and get ready and start knitting. The frame sweater is graphic and striking, and it's reminiscent of a handcrafted quilt, which I find really, really lovely and nostalgic, but at the same time, I feel like it has a really, really modern flair. I like all of that, and I am really, really excited to pick out my yarns and decide what I'm going to knit. Now I want to take you through some of the details of the project. The pattern's available to knit on Drea Renee's website or Ravelry for $9. It's knit in 3 colors of worsted weight yarns, and there are 2 options in the pattern. The first to knit in 3 solid or variegated worsted weight yarn. Most of them that I'm going to show you are knit in a version of Dream State, but I have seen a lot of patterns using solids, which I really like that option as well. Some people instead of Dream State have used variegated or speckled yarns to add some interest, and all of these are great options. Whatever you like, whatever is speaking to you when you go to a yarn store or you go to your stash is going to be wonderful. The gauge for this is 21 stitches and 24 rows over 4 inches. It's knit in size 7 and US 5 needles. Framed is size inclusive and offers 9 sizes ranging in a finished chest circumference of 34.5 to 74.25 inches, and it has a recommended positive ease of 4 to 10 inches. It's knit from the bottom up, and it has puff sleeves. The body's worked in the round until you separate for the arms. You divide for the yoke, and the remainders work flat, shaping the shoulders with German short rows. The sleeves are then picked up from the body and knit in the round down to the cuff, where they are, again, because of the balloon sleeves, pretty much there's no reducing until you get to the cuff. There's 1 row of reducing, and then you knit the cuff. I also want to mention that there is a knit along with groups on Ravelry, Facebook, and Instagram, where you can engage with other frame knitters. The knit along is being sponsored by Andrea Mowrey, the Farmer's Daughter Fibers, and Spincycle Yarns. There's a lot of activity on all of those threads already, and you can really see some great projects developing or completed already. And again, the website link with details about the knit along can be found in my comments. I head out to my yarn store to pick out some yarn for my project. So I'm back after making a trip to my local yarn store, and I have some really beautiful yarns that I am excited about for this project. So for the contrast colors at the hem, shoulders, and cuffs, I'm going to use Argent's Worsted in Wild River. It's 50% Argentinian merino and 50% fine highland wool. And this comes in 220 yards per 100 grams. For my pattern and the contrast colors, I'm using Spincycle's Dream State in Mississippi Marsala, and that's 100% superwash wool. It's 150 yards per 50 grams, and that is more of a DK. And lastly, for my contrast in the color work pattern, I've chosen Lanivendole Stormy DK in the color Luce. It's 70% Brogan wool, 30% alpaca, and it's 220 yards per 100 grams, which is the same yardage as the Origin Worsted. Although this yarn is a DK, I expect it will knit up more like a worsted. So I knitted my swatch for the frame sweater. This is what my swatch and contrast looks like so far. So I started with a number 7 recommended needle size, and my swatch was coming out huge. With the recommended stitches, I was coming out to almost 7 inches. So I went down a needle size to a US size 6. And this is closer, it's almost on gauge. I went down to a size 6, and at this point I am still at about pre-blocking and post-blocking. I'm at about 24 stitches per 4 inches instead of the 21, and I'm at about 24 rows instead of 26 rows per 4 inches. So I am going to stick with this gauge, although I am going to knit the next size up. And what I think is going to happen with that is that it's going to require me to do another pattern repeat, which will be a difference because of the gauge of about 4 inches. And I think I'm still going to end up with about 7 inches of positive ease. So again, that's where I'm going to go with this. And I have cast on. I cast on twice because the first time I twisted, even though I was very careful and tried not to. I cast on the first time, I twisted my cast on, so I needed to recast on and join again. The second time I was able to join in the round without twisting, so here I am. I've did the 1.5 inch rib, and I am through one section of the pattern, or half. I'm basically row 1 through 13. And I really love my choices so far, and I'm excited to continue knitting this. So Andrea recommends the long tail tubular cast on, and I used the long tail German cast on. It's my favorite cast on. I'm comfortable using it, and you know, depending what I'm knitting, especially a hem, I didn't really feel like I needed the long tail tubular cast on. I think I do like that around high collars, but in this case I didn't really think I needed it. So yeah, so it's going pretty well, and hopefully I will have more progress and more program notes to share with you very shortly. So I have one finished object, and it is the Bonbec hood by Atelier Aimee. This is a project that I have knit for my friend's birthday, very knit-worthy friend. be giving it to her this weekend. Hopefully by the time this is released, she will have this in her hands and hopefully not sing it. This is knit in Tat La Matin's single mohair. It's 2 fingering weight yarns together. And the second I used was a stash yarn in gray. They're both in kind of a blue-gray color. And it uses about 3/4 of a skein, of both skeins. And so, you know, if you do have some stash you are looking to use up, this is a great project. It's a cowl and the hood. She walks her dogs twice a day, and it's getting to be fall here in New Jersey, so I am hoping this is going to be something she wears and really loves in her wardrobe this fall. So today I have 2 works in progress that I'd like to tell you about. The first is a intarsia in the round hat that I am knitting, that I went to a class led by Rebecca of Ozuko Knits at the at Forever Yarns in Doylestown. Basically, she's teaching us how to do intarsia in the round. It was a great, great class. I am getting to the point now where I want to add one more piece of color block to this that will fold up on the brim and kind of cut across this section here, which I think will be really interesting. Ozuko Knits is in the process of updating this pattern, and I believe it will be released soon. I will include the link, her Instagram link down below, so you can follow along if you're interested in, you know, looking for that pattern later on. It was great. Loved it. Learned a lot, and I want to make a lot of these hats for the fall. My next work in progress is my second Musselburgh, and I started this past weekend. It is knit in, let me see here, pull that out, Malabrigo Ultimate Sock, and it's in the color Pearl 10. And I'm knitting this for my son for the holidays. I know he won't be watching this, so I'm not worried about that. And I am keeping it in my new little bag. I don't have any. I ordered with a Notions Keeper, a matching Notions Keeper that I don't have anything in yet. But this was ordered from Inspirea Mind on Etsy. I will also have the link below. It is a perfect little travel bag. It does have a handle. If I wanted to knit on the go, take it with me, that's all great. I do try to have an easy stockinette small pattern that I take with me to work, or can knit during online Zoom meetings if I am primarily a listener and not a participant. My job, I work for a social impact organization that provides services to domestic, dating, and sexual violence survivors, as well as provides education to the community to prevent those things from happening in the future. And when we have meetings, I find that a lot of times knitting on an easy project like that keeps me more engaged and helps me focus. Now, I understand that not everybody's company and culture is going to necessarily welcome that, but you know, we have on the table already lots of coloring sheets and fidget spinners and things like that. And basically this is my fidget spinner that allows me to focus and kind of stay engaged in my meetings. So if that's something that would work for you, I encourage it. It's been really, really great for me, and I get a lot accomplished. Last, I'd like to talk to you about another segment I planned for my podcast called my Hidden Gem segment. And on this segment, which is going to be the close of each podcast, what I'm going to highlight is a pattern that for whatever reason just didn't make it to the Hot Right Now section or didn't last on the Hot Right Now section of Ravelry. So this might be a new designer, it might be a designer who has released a number of patterns, but for whatever reason this one just wasn't all that popular. But they're patterns that I really like and would like to draw more attention to. And I think they deserve more notice, and hopefully by me featuring them here, they will get a little resurgence or a bump. Let's say that. So the first pattern that I'd like to feature is the Frisky Witch, and it's a pullover with a turtleneck by Thea Colman, and it's sold under her company Baby Cocktails. So let me pull that out. So I am knitting this in Blue Sky Fibers HRN, and you can see it's a lovely black color with a really lovely cable pattern, which we would expect from Thea Colman. And I am really loving the pattern. I'm loving the knit. Is the squishiest yarn. It is so soft. It's HRN. 55% alpaca, 45% superfine merino, 218 yards per 100 grams. And as I said, really squishy, lovely to knit. And in the gauge, I'm finding this the black manageable to knit. I am not necessarily looking to take on a black fingering weight project right now, but this has been, it's large enough to see, and it's been a well-written pattern. So let me give you some of the details. It was published October 2023, and so far on Ravelry there are only 36 projects listed, 36 people who have made this, in comparison to the frame sweater, which was released in July and already has close to 800 projects, and which are listed on Ravelry. Thea includes a lot of customization options. There's notes for modifications to the body, on the circumference, side shaping. She gives you 2 neckline options. It can be knitted as a turtleneck or collared. And it's available to purchase on Ravelry for $8. Its gauge is 24 stitches and 28 rows per 4 inches of the ribbed cable pattern. It recommends a US needle size 8 for the circular body and sleeves, and a 7 for the sleeve bands. Again, after swatching, I went down to a size 7. I guess I am becoming a very loose knitter. I really believe this pattern deserves a second look, and I hope that some of you will check it out. A size inclusive pattern with 8 sizes from 36 to 64 inches and 2 inches of recommended positive ease. There aren't a ton of notes on the project, but one knitter wrote, "The queen of cables is Thea Colman, and she's designed a clever vest to prove it. This was a fun, quick knit and will be a perfect piece to wear this fall and winter." That seems to be the general sentiment, and I totally agree. One more thing I'd like to mention is that I will be joining the Fall Feels Knit Along with my Frisky Witch pattern. It started September 1st and goes through November 30th, and it's being sponsored by Jackie is Making and Moving Stitches. So I'm going to share that information below too in case you're interested. I've got some nice prizes. It's a low-key knit along. I will share the link to this below if you would like to join and again build community and connection to other knitters. I think this is a great way to do it. It's time for me now to sign off. I want to thank you for joining me here on this first podcast episode today. If you liked this episode, please click to subscribe. Click the thumbs up or the like button, as well as the bell to be notified of episodes when I publish. So this will help me get the word out about the Hot Right Now podcast and help me reach more people and build an audience. Also, I would like to mention or like to encourage everyone to leave a comment about what they'd like to see more of on the podcast. What did you like and what would you like to see in terms of Hot Right Now knits and or hidden gems in upcoming episodes? I'd love to have your ideas, get some inspiration from patterns that you have been knitting and really enjoyed. So please share in the comments. And I hope finally to see you again in about a week or two when I publish again and share the latest on my framed Frisky Witch, and maybe we will even look at and start to investigate our next Hot Right Now Knits project. So have a great day, full of joy and making. Thank you. Bye-bye.